Disney Princess Cinderella, The Lost Tiara, read by Amy Oakley. Wake up, Cinderella, a little voice squeaked. It's late. Cinderella sat straight up in bed. Oh my goodness, she said to her mouse friend Gus. Did I oversleep? I need to make breakfast and feed the chickens and start the. Cinderella's voice trailed off as she looked around. Instead of being in a drafty old attic, she was in a large, bright, and sunny room. Cinderella breathed a sigh of relief. She was a princess now. She had left her old life behind when she married the prince. It's okay, Gus Gus, she said. Sometimes I forget that I don't have to wake up to do my chores too. Cinderella stretched and got out of bed. Peering into her wardrobe, she gazed at the hundreds of dresses inside. Finally, she pulled out two and held them up. Which one should I wear today? She asked her mouse friends. Cinderella quickly dressed and then headed down to the dining room. The king and the prince were already downstairs. The king was reading a letter, and he looked upset. What's wrong? Cinderella asked. Have you received bad news? The king handed Cinderella the letter. My dear family, it has been far too long since I last saw you, and I can hardly wait to meet the newest addition to the family, Cinderella. I arrive Wednesday in the late afternoon. Please have my usual rooms ready. Love always, grandmama. I don't understand, Cinderella said. This seems like good news. It is, said the king. She arrives this very evening. But I am upset because we won't be here to greet her. We are scheduled for a visit with a neighboring kingdom. Cinderella will be here, the prince said. Then he turned to his bride. You and grandmama will be able to spend some time getting to know each other. By the time father and I get back, you are sure to be the dearest of friends. Cinderella nodded. She was eager to meet the prince's grandmother, but she was also nervous. What if she didn't like Cinderella? Well, we'd best be off, said the king suddenly. Our coach awaits. Cinderella walked outside with the prince. Don't forget to wear the tiara grandmama sent you, the prince called as he climbed into the coach. Cinderella nodded and waved goodbye. Then she hurried back inside. She was late for a meeting with the royal dressmaker. When Cinderella pushed open the drawing room door, she found Chloe, the royal dressmaker, unpacking her dresses. Cinderella was going to the theater the next day, and she needed a new gown. One by one, Cinderella tried on Chloe's creations. There were pinks and greens and blues and yellows. Each dress was beautiful and unique. Finally, Cinderella selected one that felt just right. Trying on so many dresses had made Cinderella hungry. Gathering a picnic basket and a blanket, the princess laid out lunch for her and her mouse friends in the garden. Cinderella loved living at the castle with the prince, but being a princess could be a lot of work. She was always happy when she could find time to do simple things like spend time with her friends, and her friends enjoyed it too. As Cinderella gazed around the garden, she had an idea. I know just how to welcome Grandmama, she said. I'll make a lovely bouquet for her. Cinderella hurried inside to get her gardening shears and a vase. Soon she was picking a lovely selection of flowers: violets, tulips, peonies, and red, red roses. Perfect, she said, when the bouquet was complete. Cinderella handed the vase to a footman to put in Grandmama's room. Then she and her mouse friends went to find the tiara Grandmama had given her. Cinderella knew the royal jewels were kept in the royal jewel vault, but she had never been there. Stepping inside, she could hardly believe her eyes. She had never seen so many jewels in her entire life. I am looking for a tiara the prince's grandmama gave me, Cinderella told Pierre, the royal jeweler. As Pierre hurried to find the tiara, Cinderella examined the jewels. Picking up a beautiful necklace, she put it on. Look at this, said Jack, holding up a purple earring. Cinderella was just about to try on the earring when Pierre returned with the tiara case. He looked very upset. I'm sorry, Princess, Pierre said, but the case is empty. Oh my, said Cinderella. Don't worry, Cinderella, said Gus. We'll find it. Cinderella nodded, and she and her mouse friend set off to search the castle. They were looking in the parlor when the door creaked open. It was the housekeeper. Oh my goodness, she gasped when she spotted the princess peering beneath a rug. Cinderella looked up. Hello, she cried. Then, thinking quickly, she added, I'm just playing a game with the mice. The housekeeper gave Cinderella a strange smile, then continued on her way. It soon became clear that the tiara was not in the parlor. Cinderella and her friends moved on to the kitchen, but it was not there either. It was not in the ballroom, or the dining room, or even the garden. Suddenly the grandfather clock bonged. Cinderella gasped. Grandmamma would be arriving any moment, and Cinderella was covered in dirt. She had to get ready. Racing back inside, Cinderella nearly smacked into Gus. Cinderella, the mouse cried, there's someone in your bedroom, and she's going through your jewelry box. Cinderella gasped and ran down the hall to her bedroom. Without a second thought, she threw open the door to her room. Is anyone there? She cried out. Inside were three castle guards. They were laughing and joking with a sweet-looking older woman. A thousand pardons, your highness, a guard said. We heard strange noises coming from the princess's room. The woman laughed. No, it was all my fault. Imagine getting lost in my own home. Then she turned to Cinderella. You must be my new granddaughter, she said. Cinderella smiled and began to say hello when Grandmamma interrupted her. So where is the tiara I sent you? She asked. Cinderella gulped. You'll see it soon, she said. Grandmamma frowned and clutched her large purse closer to her side. Such a disappointment. I had better head to my room then, she said. Cinderella nodded and started to walk away. Then she stopped and turned back. She was about to speak when she saw Grandmamma shove the vase of flowers at a footman. Who would put flowers in my room? Don't you know I'm allergic? She cried. The next day Cinderella invited Grandmamma to go with her to the theater. Oh, what a lovely idea, Grandmamma said. I haven't been to the theater in ages. All the way there, Cinderella tried to think of things to talk to Grandmamma about, things other than tiaras and flowers, but Cinderella could think of nothing, and it seemed that Grandmamma had nothing to say either. In the royal box, Grandmamma squinted at her program. With a frown, she began to root around in her bag. I know my glasses are in here somewhere. Cinderella reached for the bag. Let me help you, she offered. Grandmamma snatched the bag away. I can do it myself. I'm sorry, said Cinderella. She seemed to do everything wrong when it came to Grandmamma. Suddenly, Cinderella looked down at the stage and gasped. The star of the show was wearing the missing tiara. Luckily, the actress quickly left the stage and changed her costume. When the show was over, Cinderella ushered Grandmamma out for tea. She would come back later for the tiara. But things did not go smoothly at the salon. Gus, who had been sleeping in Cinderella's bag, smelled the pastries and popped out for a bite. Eek! A mouse! Grandmamma cried. This is my friend Gus, Cinderella explained. She expected Grandmamma to be upset, but instead she lifted her teacup. Pleased to meet you, she told Gus. Cinderella, Gus, and Grandmamma finished their tea and then returned to their carriage. Would you mind stopping at the theater on the way home? Cinderella asked. I left something there accidentally. Grandmamma graciously agreed, and Cinderella raced inside to find the prop master. She still didn't know how the tiara had ended up at the theater. She just knew she had to get it back. Oh my, said the prop master. I'm afraid that tiara was accidentally ruined after the show. We threw it away. Cinderella knew it was time to tell Grandmama the truth. I, I, I lost the tiara you sent me, said Cinderella when she returned to the carriage, and I've been trying to keep it from you since you arrived. Cinderella hung her head with shame. Grandmama looked very, very surprised. In fact, she was speechless. Then she started to laugh. Actually, there's something I've been meaning to tell you, she said. Before Grandmama could say another word, Cinderella cried out, "Stop the carriage!" On the sidewalk, a little girl was crying. Cinderella climbed out of the carriage and walked over to the little girl. "What is wrong?" she asked. "A mean boy stole my crown," the girl said, "and he put it where I can't reach it. See?" The little girl pointed to a statue of the king in the courtyard. On his head was Cinderella's tiara. Grandmama had joined them by this time. Looking up, she began to laugh again. Cinderella looked at Grandmama. Why was she laughing when the precious tiara was on a statue of the king? "Cinderella," Grandmama said, "it is time for me to be honest with you. That tiara is a fake." Opening her bag, Grandmama pulled out a matching tiara. "I did not have time to have a real one made for you before your wedding," she explained. "So I sent you a fake tiara. I was hoping to exchange it for this one without you ever knowing." Cinderella joined in Grandmama's laughter. What silly people we both are, trying to keep our secrets. When Cinderella stopped laughing, she took the tiara from Grandmama. "Now may I try it on?" she said. Cinderella placed the tiara on her head. "Oh, it is beautiful," said Grandmama, "just as I knew it would be." Cinderella smiled, and the two women started laughing again. Just at that moment, the prince's carriage pulled into the square. "Why, what is so funny?" he asked Cinderella. "And why is my father's statue wearing a tiara?" But Cinderella and Grandmama could only laugh. Cinderella smiled. She knew this was the first of many adventures she would have with her new grandmama. The end.